Alright, well, a very good morning, Twitch fans and YouTube fans, and it's pretty much almost afternoon now. Unfortunately, it took me a lot longer to get this going than I had anticipated, so I tried almost an hour ago to start this out, and some things were not working right for me. But here we are, nevertheless. Welcome to Season 2 of Pilot's Life by Simbit World, here featuring Captain Naps and the Majestic Dash 8. So welcome aboard, everybody. I'm very happy to be here again. It's been quite a while since I've had a chance to do any streaming, as most of you are probably aware. It's been the better part of a month throughout the holiday season. It was a little bit crazy. So welcome to 2020. I hope it's been a good year to you. It's so far it's been it's had its ups and downs already for me. But I'm happy to start bringing you some more streaming again. It's been, as I said, it's been too long. I really enjoy it. And I'm just frustrated that it took this long even to get to this point right now. So welcome back aboard. We're going to be commencing Season 2 of A Pilot's Life. In this season, it's basically a continuation of the previous season. It's just a new monthly schedule. So if I bring up my Simbit World, which I actually ended up shutting down because it was not working properly here for a second there. And you're going to see that we've got a whole bunch of new flights to do here. Bring it right over here so everyone can see it nicely. And quickly log in here. There we go. So now we've got, here's my current status. I got paid again at the end of last year, at the end of the month. And so here's our current status in terms of flights we're doing. My logbook that I completed here, and here's my new schedule for the next month. It's quite a long schedule. I think it's 11 or 13 legs. It's a decent schedule, but I think I'm going to enjoy this. It's got a nice variety of airplanes. It's a little bit a nice variety of destinations. It's a little bit out of my comfort zone. Most of these airports I do have some scenery for, but some I don't. So today we're going to start right off with Encore 3387, Calgary to Kelowna. Only going to have the first one to do, but it's a fun one. I've got the sim add-on scenery for both Calgary and Kelowna. It's pretty good scenery. It's not the highest end scenery in the world, but it's pretty nice. Kelowna is a beautiful airport anyways, regardless, so it looks really good going down there. So that's what we're up against this year and this season. We're going to try and get to all those legs done for this second season, and then we're going to think about changing companies when we finish this season. So for now, that's what we're up against. So back to the airplane. We're going to hop right in. Something else that is new that you guys may not have seen before is what's hiding right up here just underneath my overlay. And if I just can bring it down enough that you guys can see it, there we go. This is the control panel for FS2Crew. Something that some of you guys had mentioned before, and I've actually had this for a little while for the Dash 8. I didn't want to start it mid-season because much like any airplane, FS2Crew itself takes quite a bit of getting used to. There's quite a lot of stuff going on there, and you have to learn the SOPs, how to handle it. So I tried to do that a little bit. Did a couple of flights with FS2Crew. Haven't done it now for a couple of weeks. It got really busy, but nevertheless, I'm going to try out this season using FS2Crew to make the flying that much more realistic. So without much further ado, I'm going to get started because I want to get this flight underway. It's an hour later than I'd originally planned for this stream, so I want to get going here. So we hop right in, and the first thing we've got to do, of course, is we've got to start up our FS2Crew and start them going. And not the config.
Hey, Captain, how are you today?
I am good. And the pre-flight events start running automatically without even doing anything. I'm sorry. I've been using FS2Crew a little bit in some of the other aircraft, and the way the menu's structured in this airplane is quite a bit different than the other ones, with the config just being sort of scroll through and look at everything. So it's a little bit more not difficult, but different from what I'm used to. So bear with me if I don't use FS2Crew perfectly the whole time. I apologize. It's like any airplane. You've got to get used to it. There are specific SOPs and ways to operate with it. I've got the printouts here with me just to sort of help walk me through it. I remember a lot of it, but nevertheless, it takes a little while to get it all done. Briefing, that's what I was looking for. Aha, that's what I was looking for. It was not... Okay, and if I just keep going through the config, it eventually comes back to, there we go. Okay, so there we are. Alright, so first of all, this is the main control bar for FS2Crew for those that haven't seen it. It lists what your current checklist is that you're trying to do, and the little T here is how much time until our scheduled departure for FS2Crew. Once you start pre-flight events, it starts a countdown timer to try and get you out on schedule. And then it's got various other controls. You can have either voice or button control, and we'll talk about that later, but I like voice control. You can mute it. HM is hard mute, which means that basically when I turn that on, nothing that I say into my microphone here goes into FS2Crew and will not trigger any events, which is useful, but I'm streaming, so I'm actually going to turn that on right now. Just because I talk a lot and I don't want to trigger events by mistake. The briefing window, as you saw, config, lock the panel on here.
Around.
Okay. Thanks. You have to learn the specific trigger words for this. That's part of the part of the fun. All right, so we are doing departure from a gate today. We are going to have the transponder on to taxi around. We're going to depart in heading mode, level 1, flap 5 departure. It's a vectors, we're going to say. End top for now, bleeds on, and concerns, none. So then you can play your whole briefing, but that also triggers some of the settings for the departure process. So I'm going to get started with this just to make sure that I'm not missing anything. I am going to be paging through the sheet. I'm sorry if you hear the paper rustling in the background, but like I said, I'm still learning this software in particularly. So the first thing I'm supposed to do is the flight deck power up checklist. So let's go ahead and get this going here. Aircraft flight log will say was checked, circuit breakers checked, and as best as I can do over there, checked. Landing gear down. Radar's off. Battery, master, main, aux, standby are all on. Main bus tie should be, it's not, tied. There it is. Engine intake bypass doors. Open. Nav light should be on. Flight deck displays. Everything's on. While I'm at it, the FMS. And the ARCDUs should all come on. The FMS takes a second. The ARCDUs come on right away. As long as you see it starts to run its power on self-test, it's working. Standby pumps are all off. Emergency brake, we're going to set now. It's just emergency brake. External power APU. External power, I believe, is already on. Yeah, it is. And main and landing gear, nose gear doors. Now this is something new that you haven't seen me do, but for doing the walk around, pulling this can be helpful because it opens the gear doors. Safety equipment and documents, and FMS initialize, so we're going to do that in a second. Just to go to the external view, just to show you guys, there's two sets of gear doors on the Dash 8, the front and the rear door. The front one is normally always open whenever the wheels are down. Of course, they all close when they're retracted. These rear ones, to reduce drag, once the gear is down, they retract. The gear retracts upwards in there or comes down, and then they retract afterwards. However, during walk-around, they can be useful to pull them up, to pop them open using the alternate gear extension, so that you can have a look inside that part of the gear bay. That's where some of the hydraulic systems are in the Dash 8. So that's why that procedure's in there. Just make sure you do reset that, otherwise the gear will not retract when you try to retract it if you've already pulled. If you pulled and left-pulled the alternate extension handle there. That's it for the flight deck power-up checklist. And now we can do a couple other things. So what we'll do is we'll do the 24-hour system checks. Now, the FS2Crew has to do them at the beginning of the day. The airline I used to work for was at the end of the day. It doesn't matter as long as they are done once per day. The theory for the airline I worked for was that if anything is discovered that's not right with the 24-hour system check at the end of the day, now maintenance has the whole night to work on it. That was the theory. That was the only real reason why it happened that way. So quick 24-hour system test. So we're going to test a whole bunch of stuff here. We're going to not start the APU, but just power it on so the valve opens, and then the fire test. You should see that close, and a bunch of stuff comes on. The lights come on. I really should have these reset so that you can just see just the check fire detectors flashing. Okay. Untrigger that. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the other side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can hear the audio alarm. Ragged smoke warning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Number 1 position and number.
Hi guys, do you mind if we start boarding now?
Or forward has one. Yes.
Thanks, I'll be back with the load sheet later.
You have to remember to unpause that or they won't listen to me. Okay, there's those 24-hour system checks. Then we got to do, no, those should be all the way at flight idle. Those should be at disk. There's the test, good. Alright, and ADC test. So you see 285, 284 is at the bottom of the red line, 14,360, 2923 inches, and after about 5 seconds you get the red flag, or they get the beeping. 285, 284, 14,360, 2923, and beep, beep, beep. And then install warning test, so you'll get the stick shaker after about 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For systems 1 and 2, you test both of them. And
glide slope.
there's the test.
Pull up. Terrain. Terrain. Pull up.
And PA check, that should work. It doesn't seem to work, but anyways. Okay, and that's it for the 24-hour system test. When the FO comes back in from the walk-around, we'll read it and make sure it's done. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and pull this up here, put it where you guys can see it, and set up our flight for the day. So today's flight is Calgary. New home base for me here, and out of my comfort zone. I'm kind of a little bit nervous, a little bit excited. Out of my normal comfort zone in terms of where I normally operate airplanes. Where did I put my? So this will be interesting. Like I said, not where I'm used to operating, but I hope that I'll be able to stick with it. What happened to? Excuse me a second, guys. I seem to have lost. I had the Twitch app on my phone. That's the one that seems to have gone missing. Just because that way I can follow along very easily, and if you guys are chatting at all, then I can see what you guys are saying. All right, so as always, sim brief. The source of the flight plan here went with the default flight plan, which seemed pretty reasonable. So from Calgary, we go to a fix called Ravma, UXAP. Novar, and then the NORUP 3. So first of all, we're going to do our menu depart, and first things first, we're going to just check the weather in Calgary here for departure. Some snow grains falling. Do I not have Active Sky running? I do not. Aha. I had it running, and I shut it down because it was giving me problems. So stand by one moment. And I said Active Sky was giving problems. Actually, Active Sky wasn't giving problems. Something was giving me problems in P3D, and I ended up having to do some updates and some reinstalls to get everything to work, but I shut down Active Sky in the process. I forgot that I shut it down. So you're about to see it change. The weather's going to change here. So the winds are out of the south in Calgary. For sake of making this quicker, and because I don't think...
Okay, I'm back from the walk around. Everything looks good.
Thank you. We're going to do 17 left. We're going to do the Calgary 6 departure. Off of 17 left. And that should be in the flight plan now. Good. And then there's the snow I was expecting. Alright, and then in terms of Kelowna, sorry, just looking at my other screen here to get some weather here for Kelowna. Let me take that away for a second. Not a great day in Kelowna either. 4 miles light snow. Well, we'll go try this. See how it goes. If we do anything, it should be runway 34 in Kelowna based on the winds. There's the NORUP 2 arrival. Runway 6. And let's see here. So I just want to check the charts here and make sure that I have all the waypoints here for the no-rip arrival. Although actually we don't start it for quite a ways, so we probably could actually get underway and then put in the waypoint. So I think that's what we'll do. We're going to plan on doing RNAV to 34. Let's just have a look. I'm not familiar at all with, we'll do the RNAV Zulu. It's an RNAV RNP. I don't think I can do that one. I think we'll have to do the RNAV Alpha to runway 34. And we'll do it via AMBAT maybe. We'll look at it in more depth once we get underway here. So the flight plan is in here anyways. After no VAR, no RIP, there's a no link in there. There's some waypoints I have to put in there. AMBAT, and then the arrival, the approach. So, okay, so we've got the basic flight plan in there. We've got the departure end done, and we'll do the arrival end while we're en route. Let's go ahead and have a quick look at what the flight plan predicts for our load today. Oh, predicting a pretty full load here. And we've got, of course, put our weight and balance in there. So fuel today, we're looking at 7,500 pounds as a minimum block.
Pull up.
It's a pretty heavy block, but our alternate is all the way to Vancouver, which is a fair distance away.
Pull up.
As you can hear, the FO is now doing his flow and getting his stuff ready, which is great. 7,500. Trip fuel, we think we're going to burn 2,700. It's a lot of it is alternate and reserve fuel here, plus 1,000 pounds extra just for contingencies. All right. In terms of the loading here, we're supposed to have 74 passengers. We're going to distribute it pretty much across the whole cabin here. 20, 24, and 14.
System test
12
okay.
for 74 passengers. And we should have a little bit of cargo up front and probably quite a bit in the back if you're taking that many passengers. Let's see if we can do that. So I'm estimating 20 pounds per person for baggage, which is pretty reasonable. And that seems to be pretty good. All right. Now we can put in the actual numbers we've got here. I never did actually start the GSX going here. I'm not going to even worry about boarding with GSX per se. Well, we can start it, I guess. I've already refueled the aircraft. 74 people. And it is going to be WestJet servicing us. That way at least we're ready for the pushback as well. Okay, alternate fuel today is going to be, yes, the jetway is open, 1851, and the final fuel, 1364, with a pretty heavy bus today. We're going to say 0 extra for the time being. Fuel on board should be 75, looks like it is if I just look down there in the corner, and the ZFW, as calculated by Majestic control panel, is going to be 55,973. Takeoff's going to be at 64, 63 and a half. 55,973, was that correct? Yes, 55,973. Good. All right, and enter, and there it is, 63.
Good evening, ma'am. How are you? I'm doing good.
And the local time zone here is -8. So it's still morning here in the west, on the Rockies, on the west coast. Alright, the one thing I'm going to do is come over here, and we're going to go ahead and cross-fill all that stuff that I just did to the second FMS. So they've got the same stuff to look at, and then we're ready to start doing an actual flow to make sure that everything is positioned correctly. As I said, FS2Crew, like anything else, sort of has its own flows, its own way of doing things.
Thank you.
I'm going to continue to basically follow the flows that I'm used to, and I'll try to change it where FS2Crew requires me to. These should be in the normal position. Closed. Armed, and we are fueled, so those should both be on. Test all this. And test all the light bulbs. Alright, and that looks good. circ fan should be on. Should be normally min. I don't know how much of that the FO's messed with and how much of it is just from when I loaded the airplane. Alright, we need speeds. We're going to need 64,000 pound speeds. We're going to do flap 15 departure. It's going to be off of 17 left, which I believe is pretty close to where we're parked here.
I'm right next to her.
I may switch it if we're actually at the other end of the terminal from where I think we are. I'm looking for a quick taxi out today. It took much longer than expected to get this stream started, almost an hour. Haven't streamed for a while, as you guys know, and there were some things that were not right with the stream, with the software, so. Normally in Calgary, of course, we'd also have to go to the ice prior to departure because it's snowing. I'm going to basically say we did it at the gate at this point. Sorry, 136. Only to get this flight going, I do have sort of got to get it done by a certain point today, so we're going to rush it a little bit. Normally I would do the whole kit and caboodle. I would go to the icing bay. I'm that kind of person who would go to the icing bay, etc. 156. Now comes the fun part. I'm setting the MDA here in Calgary, since Calgary is a little bit above sea level here. So we're just going to go ahead and I don't even know exactly what the elevation is in Calgary. But it ain't sea level, it ain't even close. It is, the field elevation in Calgary is, we're looking at 35 something here. So we're going to say 3,600 is our flap retraction, so it's going to take me a little while to wind this all the way up here to 3,600 feet for our flap retraction altitude. This plane doesn't have bad acceleration. Some of the airplanes I fly have terrible acceleration for these knobs. When you're trying to move your DA up to 3,600 feet, it just takes you the rest of your life. So sorry, 3,600, so I should be setting, my apologies, 4,600, 1,000 feet above the field elevation. Set a nice even 4,600 there. I'm going to go ahead and hit the go around button. And we're going to do heading, halts out, yaw dampers on, flight taxi, and well, let me just, where did my charts list go? Calgary 7 departure is going to require a top altitude of 7,000. There we go, 7,000 feet. All right, and last but not least, the heading is seems to say 165 here. Let's see if I agree. 417, 165. Yeah. There it is. All right, flight controls are all set. I can turn that off. It did pass the auto feather test there. Alright, and I think that's all just about good to go there. Those condition levers and this condition levers are off, that's all good. So the radars standing by for now, that's fine. And the one thing I'm going to do is get in a good frequency. Unicom's coming up. Good old VATSIM, as always, we are online, even if no controllers are online today, and I'm not faulting anyone because it is. Especially on the East Coast, it's still or on the West Coast, it's still morning. So I'm not faulting anyone for not being online. That's fine. Silly thing here. Window heats anyways, shouldn't do anything anyways till we get AC power going, but... Alright, now we're down to 11 minutes before departure, and I haven't done that much yet, but alright. Let's go ahead and read the 24-hour system check. So I'm going to unmute this guy. 24-hour system checks checklist.
Engine fire detection.
Test.
APU fire detection.
Test.
Baggage smoke warning aft and forward.
Test.
Stall warning test 1 and 2.
Test.
ADC 1 and 2.
Test.
Auto feather.
Test.
Chipless TCAS. Test. PA system.
Test.
Trims.
Test.
24-hour system checks complete.
Alright, I hope that came in on the audio on the right channel, but I think it did, so I think you guys heard all that. So there's the 24-hour system checklist done. And now we can do... alright. Are you ready for the departure briefing?
Go ahead.
So now I can say whatever I want, and he will just simply listen. So today we're going to taxi out from the gate here in Calgary. We're at gate Alpha 14. If I can find it here on my apron chart. Yes, Alpha 14. So we're going to taxi out probably just down Kilo and Charlie, going right to the threshold 17 right. Super duper short taxi, assuming de-icing on the gate. Yes, we'll see the weather conditions. The departure today, the Calgary 7 departure. 10-3 Alpha 30th November 2018, runway 17 right and left, climb heading 165 as assigned, climb to and maintain 7,000 for factors to the assigned depicted route. And that's it. The MSA, so the MSA is the highest one in the sector we're going anyways off towards Ravma is 6,100, so we won't turn until we hit at least 6,100. And then weather is obviously snowing. We should be de-icing. We'll say it's done at the gate today just to get this show on the road. Operational. I didn't see any NOTAMs. There's nothing wrong with this airplane. Everything's functional. Just bear with me on the FS2 crew. And that's about it. Any questions? Sorry, I should unmute this. Do you have any questions?
No questions.
Perfect. Before start checklist.
Stand by.
And he does a couple of things here. I feel like I should probably be doing some things
Bridge
here
and
as well.
Aiden checks flow.
Complete.
Complete. Gear pins. Stowed. Pre-flight checks.
Complete.
Complete. External power APU voltage.
On. Checked 27 volts.
Circuit breakers.
Checked.
Checked. Escape hatch.
Closed.
Nose wheel steering.
Hi guys,
Off.
here's the load sheet for you. Have a safe flight.
Flight guidance control panel.
Thank you.
Set. Fuel quantity. 7,505 pounds on board.
7,500 pounds required.
Hydraulic number 3 pressure.
Checked 0 psi.
Emergency brake pressure.
On. Park checked.
Power levers.
Disc.
Condition levers.
Fuel off.
Emergency light switch.
Arm.
Fasten belt switch.
On.
On. Departure briefing.
Complete.
Complete. Before we start, checklist complete.
Alright, and so there we go. We got the checklist done. Now we just got to get the rest of this show on the road here. I'm just making sure that I have not missed anything, because there's little flows as well as reading the checklist that I have to make sure. And I think I've done just about everything. I'm sorry. I'm just literally reading through this to just speed reading through it to make sure I haven't missed anything here. And I think I have not. So I think we're done boarding, so let's go ahead and get GSX to prepare for pushback and departure. We could do the de-icing treatment here at the gate. It's a little bit unrealistic probably for Calgary, but that's the way we're going to do it. De-icing vehicles are on their way, so let's go ahead and kill the jet bridge. We can go ahead and close the doors. That's just the sound of the jet bridge animated at this airport. Some data, services, exits. Let's go ahead and just close those. There we go. Alright. So those are all closed up, and I think we're just about ready for de-icing and going here. Alright, so there's a little flow I have to do when we're ready for engine start. Right now we're waiting for the de-icing trucks. Let's just see where they are. I hope they're not coming from very far away. Wow, covered in a lot of snow there. Is he going to drive underneath the terminal? Nice. I have no idea how far this really is to where we are. Oh, here, I see the airplane there. Pardon all the clipping, but they're almost here. That's actually pretty good. I do like it sometimes it works. We'll just watch the de-icing for a second, get that out of the way, and then we'll go ahead to the engine starts. There should be a second de-icing truck coming right behind this one here. Second one into position. We'll get a quick little de-ice going on here, and then we'll get underway. The runway's right over there, so at least it'll be a short taxi out, that's for sure.
Confirm aircraft is ready for treatment. We begin treatment now and observe. Fluid type 4. Concentration at 100%. I will call you back when ready.
I don't think I've done any de-icing with GSX since I started the since they've done some of the updates. Like, these textures on here are really nice. Like a really well done effect, guys. Like that is really quite good. And they're not quite totally in sync, so it's not like it's a ballet and they're perfectly timed and sync to each other. There's a little bit of individual variation, which is the way it would be in the real world. It's not like they're perfect and everyone does everything perfectly symmetrically. Very nice to see that it's not like 100% like synced together. Just a second here. I feel like this might be the screenshot for YouTube video here. Alright, looks like the de-icing is just about complete. Let's do the before start flow, so I make sure that the doors, fueling lights are out.
De-icing and anti-icing
Battery
completed.
master main,
Anti-icing
they're all
code
on,
is
lock, isolate,
fluid
and
type
collision.
4. Concentration at 100%. I'm disconnected. Good day.
Good day. Fuel bleed is off, and confirm the engine's clear. Engine start checklist to the line.
Battery master main auxiliary standby.
On.
Doors, fueling lights.
Closed and out.
Any collision light.
Red.
Engine start checklist completed to the line. Due to icing conditions, please stand by for engine start.
Waiting for our push crew. There they are. Alright, let's get this underway. Below the line.
Alright guys, everyone's seated. We're all buttoned up and ready to go in the back.
AP bleed.
Thank you.
If you need anything, just let me know.
Hello, Captain.
Off.
Ready for pushback.
Engine, clear on 2.
Clear on 2.
Engine start checklist complete.
The FO has to do it, so...
Locking gear.
Start 2 for me, please.
Starting 2.
Now, one key thing when you're using FS2Crew here, you have to be a little bit careful about, and left, is that the first officer, especially like during engine start and various things, will move the condition levers and other controls.
Departure check completed.
Because I have the condition levers linked to my
Release parking brakes.
linked to my throttle quadrant, I have to make sure that I move the controls at the same time. Otherwise, at some point, the joystick will detect that it's still in fuel off and move it back there during the start process or some point thereafter. So you need to keep your controls synced to what FS2Crew is doing to a little bit of a degree. So normal start.
Release parking brakes.
Flight deck to ground. Cockpit, or ground from cockpit.
Go ahead.
Please disconnect external power.
Roger, disconnecting the GPU.
Some neat little things that this will do for you.
Release parking brakes.
Captain, the GPU is now disconnected.
Thank you. Thank you.
Commencing push. Due to icing conditions,
All right.
please stand by for
Brakes are
engine start
off.
until
We're
pushing
pushing
the
back.
brake set.
Please start engine 1. Start 1 for me, please.
Starting 1.
Again, what I said previously about needing to have like the explicit voice commands. There's not a lot of flexibility in FS2Crew that way, but part of the problem is that they had to create commands that can be easily recognized from a stream of talking and pick out certain words to sort of lead everything off. I don't know why I'm not in heading mode. I just noticed I'm not in heading mode, so there's heading mode. So there are certain words and phrases that you have to say, and it's only because the voice recognition is only triggered by certain words. Alright, that's associated. That's the engine start. I enjoy FS2Crew a lot. It lacks a little bit of the flexibility of working with a real person in a shared flight deck, but when you don't have someone to fly with, it takes a lot of workload off, that's for sure. When you're flying single pilot, huge reduction in workload.
Set parking brakes.
Waiting your confirmation for good engine start.
Good engine start, guys. You're clear to disconnect. Alright, now one thing we're going to have to do here is we are going to have to we're going to get that to trigger. We're also going to do this while they're disconnecting because we have to do the ice test before we leave the gate if it's icing conditions. And FS2Crew is going to complain if I don't.
Tow truck disconnected. Bypass pin removed.
I just need to see the guy walk away. They're still cycling, so at least I can watch those. This guy's going to go over there and give us a wave in a second. Let's see one more.
Left is clear. Right is clear.
Alright. Conditioning with max. This will eliminate the prop D8s as well. Should. Because now it's going to work now that there's AC power. You have to have AC power for prop, for all the heaters and pumps in this aircraft. And we can also start a timer now that the AC power is on. Really, we should be testing it. The windshield should test for at least 5 minutes. Just testing manual mode with the de-icing boots, and they all seem to inflate, so it seems to be good. After start checklist.
Stand by.
Alright. One red hide.
External power, APU.
Checklist. Off.
Main bus tie.
Off.
Ice protection.
Checked. Level 2.
Checked. Level 2. Rudder travel.
Full travel.
Rudder actuator test.
Complete.
Nose wheel steering.
On.
Auto feather.
AF select. Auto feather select.
Checked.
Auto feather select.
Engine rating.
End top 90%. Checked.
Batteries.
Checked.
Flaps.
5 set indicating.
5 set and indicating. Aux standby P2 pumps.
On.
On. Hydraulic pressure quantity.
Checked.
Checked. Hydraulic number 3 in elevator. Checked. Caution warning lights.
Checked.
Flight instruments radios.
Checked.
Checked. Altimeters.
How'd she set that? What was the Calgary altimeter? What? This is an easy one. 2991 set, cross-checked.
2991. Set and cross-checked. Ice protection test.
Complete.
After start checklist complete.
Clear on the left.
And we are clear on the right.
Set taxi light on.
Taxi light set to on.
Nice to have an FO do things for you. Hard mute it again. But it's nice to have an FO that can do things for you. Normally you wouldn't be turning the hard mute on and off all the time like this, but just because I'm going to be talking in this stream, I'm turning it off whenever I feel like I don't have to say anything to the FO, because it becomes otherwise a little bit annoying. But you can see, most of what I've done in the past in my previous videos, for those of you that have watched them closely, I'm doing much of the same procedures. There are a few things that are in a slightly different order. It's not a big deal, and I'm fairly used to it now. Fortunately, did I not change this? No, I did not change it. I thought I did. I ended up having to reinstall Majestic Dash for some reason. It was not working properly. I thought I could figure this, but I did not. So we're going to taxi using the mouse on the tiller. I don't like this at all, but it is what it is. And I'm just going to check here. I can still use the rudders for shallow returns. No, but even that is too much.
Flight deck. Okay, thanks. Captain, they're securing the cabin.
Checked. Checked. Alright, so I'm going to probably not yak so much on the takeoff roll here, just to not distract the FS2 crew and make sure it does everything, but I will say in advance that it is nice to have an FO that does things for you. Alright, so we're going to try and do this here, and I'm going to try to mess this up. Before takeoff checklist to the line.
Flight attendants, please be seated for departure.
I schmucked that up already. First thing I have to do is a test. 2, 3. What is not set? Something's not set correctly. Nope, everything's set correctly.
FA notification received. Takeoff briefing complete. Cabin PA complete. Condition levers.
Max.
Max. Trims.
3 set.
3 set. Takeoff warning test.
Test. Complete. Tested.
Flight controls check free. Flight taxi.
Flight.
Radar terrain. Radar on both sides. Transponder TCAS on alt. Before takeoff checklist complete to the line.
Check. And it looks like there's somebody else there. Calgary traffic, Encore 3387. We'll hold short of 17 right for the company Boeing to depart first. Set taxi light off.
Taxi light set to off.
PLCD in Calgary right now. We're there. Alright, wow. I really miss having that tiller. I'll fix that for the next stream. I thought I had fixed everything, but I did not. I just type in text as well. Okay, he said he's going to need 3 more minutes, so we're going to go.
Approaching 16.
Set taxi light on.
Taxi light set to on.
Calgary traffic, Encore 3387 is departing runway 17 right. Below the line.
Bleeds, min on. External lights on. Runway.
Runway.
Runway 16.
Runway 17 right, heading 165.
Before takeoff checklist complete.
Alright. Here we go, I just need the voice trigger commands. Just need to have these ready to go here. So we're going to bring this up so I can see a little easier. Check power.
Power checked. 80 knots.
Checked.
Looks like we're picking up some ice. V1, rotate. Positive rate.
Gear up.
Gear up. Acceleration altitude.
Flap 0, IAS 200, climb checklist to the line. Autopilot on.
Autopilot's on.
Just looking for 61 and we'll take the turn.
Climb checklist completed to the line.
Check. Alright, there we go. We got the takeoff done. It wasn't totally disastrous. A little off the center line, but not too bad. Now we're picking up ice, so we're going to get all the ice protection on. I'm just going to reach up and do this
1,000 to
right
go.
now.
Alt cell.
Checked. Checked. Make this turn first. For the sake of the guy behind us. 240. Alright, we're going to start the climb up to 240. catch up. Be a little bit aggressive for a second, just so we don't bust through that red line. There ain't no auto thrust to save us on this airplane. Alright, I'm going to hard beat it because FS2Crew's job is mostly done at this point. A couple more climb checklists and a couple other things, but mostly it's done. We're underway, we got off the ground safely, we're on our way to Kelowna. Let's just go ahead and navigate there. Alright, there is direct to Ravma, and there's LNAV mode, and we're in the turn direct to Ravma. Go ahead and chime the FAs as well. They can get up and do their service. Wow, she's climbing crazy good today. Oh, we're already almost busting out the top of that cloud layer. Beautiful. Beautiful. I don't know if any of you guys have noticed that are watching this, but even on that takeoff roll, wow, how much smoother this all runs now. I am so impressed with the upgraded processor, which is doing exactly what it should do, which is providing a much better experience. But the smoothness with which I can turn and look at various things around the flight deck, I don't think that even the stream is capturing quite as smooth as it is now, but certainly we're not dropping into double-digit, or into single-digit frame rates, or very, very low double digits. Where taxiing around the airport, we were a solid 40 frames. We're sitting here at over 50 in the climb. Looking a lot nicer now. We're going to wait till we're 10,000 feet above field elevation before we do the 10,000 foot checks, which are the last half of the climb checklist, and then basically FS2Crew is done until you start your descent. So I hope you guys enjoyed that demonstration of FS2Crew. I've got to say, I like it a lot in a lot of ways. It's a really good piece of software, really well written, and it's not the cheapest software. It's not quite as expensive as the airplane itself, but it is a good percentage of the price of the airplane. So is it worth it? And the funny thing, I was thinking about this earlier today, and the one thing I'll say, actually before I even say that, let's just do that. Let's that climb checklist. Below the line.
Climb checklist complete.
I guess he does the FA notification at the 10,000 foot mark with it below the line. So is FS2Crew worth the money? It's not inexpensive. It's 30 to 40 euros per airplane that you operate, which is not an inconsequential amount of money. It's a good percentage of the price, the original price of the airplane. It does a very good job at what it does. That's the first thing I'll say. It does a very good job at I'm just going to sync my condition levers here as I'm thinking about it. It does a very good job doing what it does, which is managing the airplane, creating an immersive two-crew environment, and I think probably the critical function that makes this such a useful piece of software is the voice activation. You can tell the FO to do things. I can tell him to do all sorts of things, and he will do them. Is it worth it? I think it is. Especially if you ever get it at a sale price, and FS2Crew does regularly have 20 or 30% off coupons, sales, and if you get it for those sale prices, I think it's totally worth it, even without that. Let's just check it. I know his wing should be clean by now. Yeah, it is. Even without that, I'll say, yeah, it's probably worth it. And I was thinking about this today because I was almost going to say no, and it's one of those things where the software works generally so well that you don't realize how hard it was to program this software. And it's one of the ironies, I think, of software is that well-written software, people generally almost feel hard paying for at first until they think about it, because if it works so well, the intuitive so interface, people tend to say, oh, that must have been fairly easy to program. In reality, it probably wasn't. Trying to come up with a script that works with all the various trigger words that they try to minimize the duplication of the trigger words, so they don't have to spend a lot of processor power figuring out where in the sequence of events am I, where will are these trigger words, going to cause any problems. Just coming up to transition, so before I forget, I'm going to set that. There we go, standard set, cross check, passing 17, 8, pretty close. Not as easy as first think when you just sort of when you first sort of look at the software the first time you walk through it. It's a lot of complication, a lot of instructions, but it all works so well that you begin to think, oh, it's not worth that much. But especially the first couple times they developed this software. Now that they've developed it for a couple of different airplanes, a lot of it is probably very similar. A lot of certainly the end where you're doing the voice detect end is very similar from one airplane to the next. I mean, you've got to pick different words, different scripts, but that end is sort of very similar in terms of translating voice into actions in the simulator through SimConnect. But you know, the first couple times, especially when they tried to do this, I think must have been a real challenge. And trying to sell probably the developers on like, hey, we'd like you to build not a backdoor, but an API that we can use to fly your airplanes, to have our our simulated first officer fly your airplanes. That probably was a little challenging in the beginning to convince some of the operators to do, but I'm glad that they have, because it really makes for a very immersive environment. The problem with most of these sim airplanes is that they, especially the higher end airplanes, is that they're such faithful recreations of the real thing that you have a very hard time operating them single pilot. Here I am, single pilot. You know, I mean, there's no me here either, but there's no real first officer here. So you're doing everything normally that a first officer and a captain would do, and it takes just longer to do things, especially if you're talking on the radio, if you're operating on VATSIM and trying to change things, you know, Friday night ops, so you're trying to change your approach at the last minute and all that other stuff. Very quickly you can get overwhelmed. Absolutely, you can get very quickly overwhelmed with what's going on, and that's why in the normal real world, there's two people flying. One person can work the radios, the other person can do what they need to do. I'm just going to switch this guy to the nav mode there, and I probably should actually give him. We'll just give him from except to NOVAR. There we go. Actually, get him single class. Yeah, so the FO normally would be talking on the radio, the captain would be flying, or vice versa, but one person's communicating, one person's flying, instead of trying to do both at the same time. And certainly when things change, if an approach changes at the last minute, or there's a go-around, there's a person who's not flying in the airplane who can do FMS reprogramming and setting altitudes and stuff like that, while the other pilot is hand-flying, especially airplanes where the Dash 8 is one where the go-around has to be hand-flown. It's not always the easiest thing in the world to hand-fly a go-around. Not at all. And then to try and switch to nav mode, and switch to FMS mode, and set your altitude, and change your heading while you're hand flying this go-around, very challenging to be there. So having FS2Crew, having this simulated first officer that I can give instructions to is really great. And I think the Dash 8 is one of the best airplanes that they've done in terms of how many commands I can give them. I have an entire sheet here that is an entire sheet of paper here that I've just simply written down just a list of all the miscellaneous voice commands that I can give to the various systems, so I can have him turn lights on and off. Like I can have any light I want turned on. Set taxi light on.
Taxi light set to on.
Set landing lights on. Set approach light on.
Alt cell. Approach light set to on.
Check. Set approach light off.
Approach light set to off.
Set taxi light off.
Taxi light set to off.
Stupidly simple things, but it's great that you can tell somebody else to do these things. Just frees up your hands and your mind for doing this. The same with having. This is, you know, in the same vein as, wow, we really kind of rolled off, didn't we? Cancel last command. Cancel last command.
Check.
Occasionally you'll see something will happen, so I don't know if you saw that there. But he started setting the altitude a lot lower than where I wanted it. Somehow he interpreted the command to set the altitude lower, and this is why the hard mute button is essential, especially if you're a streamer who's yakking away all day long. Just to prevent those trigger words from setting off the wrong thing. But there's so many things that I can do. I could have told him to set the right level. I should have told him to set the right level. I can say set flight level 240 alt cell. I can say all sorts of things like that. Nice to be able to disconnect the GPU just by voice command alone without having to go into the menus. Just voice command alone, disconnect the GPU as it would be in the real world. These are the kind of things that really, to me, make a huge difference. This is right up there with the voice unicom on AFV being alt star. I can say it. Alt star.
Check.
And he acknowledges these things. in terms of just taking your hands and eyes back to flying the airplane instead of looking at various systems, typing in a window here on vPilot to make Unicom calls. Like, understandably, it was a limitation of the previous system, and I don't fault them for that, but boy, what a nice thing to be able to make voice transmissions on Unicom, assuming people are listening. Sometimes you have to do both to work things out, and that's just the way it is. But even just the possibility of making that, I've been flying to various airports in Europe, and people are making extensive use of the voice Unicom, and it's great coordination. I should say Alt. Yeah, he did recognize it anyways. Sip some of my coffee. So is FS2Crew worth it? I think so. I think it's a really great piece of software. I really enjoy using it. It's a learning curve. It's a learning curve like anything else. I knew this airplane very well coming into it. I didn't have to learn this airplane per se. But FS2Crew is a different set of SOPs than I'm used to. So it's a different experience, and it's a lot of learning to get it done. But I'm very happy to give it a try, and I hope you guys are going to enjoy this. Probably should do the cruise check here at some point. I'll do it this way here. Set cruise power.
Cruise power set.
Now, I was always trained to fly with the climb at 900 and only 850 once you're in cruise. A lot of operators apparently do 850 in the climb, so that's why all he did was he pressed the MCR button when I asked him to do that, which was not really good enough. But anyways. I bet that's the WestJet Dash 8, or not the WestJet 737 there overtaking us there up our right side somewhere. Is that him there? That's him there, isn't it? Hold on, where's my key? Right there. I don't know how well you guys can see this in the stream, but there, he's leaving a contrail. Nice. Nice. Okay. Should probably focus because it's not all that far until we get to Kelowna here. We got 25 minutes. We're going to start down in the next like 15-20 minutes here. So let's start pulling up my Navigraph charts here and making sure that everything is programmed in, and we'll brief our first officer and try and do this arrival with FS2Crew. As I said, I have played with it a little bit. I have practiced it a little bit. I don't feel totally comfortable with it. Not nearly as comfortable as I feel with like the airplane as a whole. As you guys, I think, have seen, I feel extremely comfortable with this airplane. But FS2Crew, still getting the hang of. And that's fine. It'll probably take a little while. Nobody would expect anything less, really. Okay, so the NORIP 3 arrival, we're going via Novar, and there's a couple of waypoints, first of all, that are missing in this flight plan, just because of the way it loaded, so we also need Rob T. Oops. Thinking like a jet driver again. Rob T. After Novar. We're going to only be there in like 10 minutes, so we got to really get this show rolling here. Eblel. E-B-L-E-L. And then NORIP. At or above 10,000 feet. Delete that. At or above 12,400, Eblel at or above 11,000. So as long as we're aiming for the 10,000 at max 210 knots at NORIP here, that's on our plate, then that should be good. Then we do Bevat, also at or above 10,000. Kevvu, we should probably make this our hard 10,000, that'll be good. A lot of mountains in the vicinity of Kelowna, so as you can probably see down there, some of the mountain ranges poking through. It's going to be a fun approach, especially because it's not terribly great weather down there today. AMBAT is supposed to be at 8,000, so we're going to set 8,000. And then we're going into the RNAV GNSS Alpha via AMBAT. So this no link should not be here. It should be direct to Gabot. And then Boldy. And then the final prefixes here. Elson and Asdot is just a missed approach point. And then Almox. Okay, so this is going to be fun. To have a quick look at this approach plate. Actually, I'm just going to go back to the star and make sure there's no other notes on it. Descent planning. Actual descent. Clearance will be issued by ATC. There's no other real notes on the plan. Everything, all the waypoints are there as specified. So Kelowna, information alpha. Actually, before I do anything else, let's just double check that Kelowna weather. Winds 300 at 2, 9 miles, broken at 10,000 now. Oh, it cleared right out. It was snowing a little while ago, and now it's cleared right out. So we could do the ILS. What are the minimums on this one anyways that get us in there? It's 1,600 feet above ground. Does it have any altitude constraints? Oops. Do that. Any altitude constraints in here? Boldy is the last altitude, 4,700. Yeah, Felsen, and then, yeah, continue down. You know what, we'll do it anyways, we'll stick with this plan here. It looks like we should be able to trigger most of these waypoints. I'm just going to bring the power back because we're right up against the red line there. Alright, so final approach course, 354. Yeah, that's all in there. Elsum at 4,700 is the expectation. And MDA refer to minimum, so 3040. So this is a non-precision approach, 3040. Oops. Oh, change you, and then you. $30.40, there we go. Okay, 3040 is set for the minimums, and airport elevations at 1420. The MSA is 8,800 feet, almost 7,000 feet above, over 7,000 feet above the airport elevation. Good times. Missed approach is climbed to 3,100 on a heading 354, then a climbing left turn to 7,400. So straight ahead to 3,100, then a left climbing turn to 7,400 direct to Almox as required. A shuttle climb. The altitude 100 miles is 12,500 miles. Offset 15 degrees from center line. Yeah, that's going to be fun. Part of the challenge. And no circling to the east of the runway. It's fairly straight forward. It's a single runway with a parallel taxiway, so we'll just take the convenient left turn off and taxi back to the terminal. Okay, I think we got it all there. Let's just do some VNAV planning as well. And I should have asked this guy if he wanted to do the approach briefing. Okay, so first of all, we got to select the fix. So the Bevot was the 10,000 foot crossing. Let's make this 1,500 feet per minute down. That'll be a little better. That's a little more reasonable. 23 minutes until top of descent. Really? Okay. Seemed like we were getting there faster than that. 43 minutes now. Oh, okay. I guess it was looking at our... That's a little better. Okay. We were rushing through that for nothing. That's okay. Alright. How far do we get to go here? There it is. Okay. So there we go, we're on our way, finally. And I think I might just take this opportunity to go refill my coffee cup and step away for just a moment here, and I'll be right back, guys. So don't go anywhere. And in the meantime, while I do my quick little step away, for a quick little break here, I'm going to go ahead and give you the usual exterior aircraft views. There you go. I'm also just going to move this out of the way so you don't have to see this for the time being. There you go, guys. I will be back in about 5 minutes. Alright, Twitch fans, Captain Nabs back with you once again. And getting ready for our arrival into Kelowna. I just had myself a little break there. Grabbed a quick little bite to eat, a little refill of my coffee, which is always important. And why does it sound so quiet in here? I guess that is just the volume. No, there it is. That's the background noise we're looking for. Okay. Yeah, a little nature break, a little bit of extra coffee in my cup, ready to go, and we're heading on our way to Kelowna. Now, I brought the power back just a little tiny hair, but I find that the CYYC yoke is such an imprecise yoke. It's not that it's imprecise, it's that, but it doesn't lock the precision that the real airplane has, where you could adjust it by like 1 degree, 2 degrees, and it would do like a small 1% power change. Like I tried to pull it back a little bit, and it went right to 55% from like 72. So let's go ahead and put some power back on this thing here again and get that speed back up there, because I can see the speed came back. You guys were enjoying the view there, though. It's beautiful terrain out here. I'm an East Coast. I'm an eastern part of Canada native, so I'm not at all familiar with flying in the West in terms of where the cities and airports are, where the mountains are. Like, I understand the basics of geography, but this is I'm slowly kind of learning all this stuff. So it is a little bit interesting and exciting. As I said, unfamiliar territory. I've never been to Kelowna in real life. Most of the other airports that we fly to on a regular basis, especially here in my streams here, I've been to in real life. I know where they are, what they're like, but these are airports I've never been to, so it's a little bit more of an adventure, I say, at this point, which is kind of nice. Like I said, taking me out of my comfort zone, and that's kind of a nice change. I'm so used to certain things, and especially when you're streaming, like you tend to want to do things you know well that you're comfortable with, because you're putting yourself out there in front of the public, in front of the world, and in this day and age, people are so quick to judge. They may not necessarily be able to do the same thing themselves, but so often people are quick to judge. And this community, not so much. I will say that you guys who have been watching this channel and supporting me, not at all that way. You guys are not quick to judge. You guys are very reasonable, very fair, and I appreciate that. I have made mistakes, and I've admitted them. Other people have pointed them out. I just see we're just a little bit yawned to the left, so to the right, I should say. And certainly I've never been, publicly crucified for making an error. We all make mistakes, and that is the basic human condition. Anyone who's never made a mistake in their life is not a human being. They might possibly be a robot. But those people don't exist that haven't made mistakes. So the important thing is to take what you can from them, to learn from them. I had a gentleman just the other day. He's also publishes some videos to YouTube as well, and he came through while I was controlling, and he made an error on departure. He did the normal thing in Toronto, which is not the normal thing, but the thing that so many VATSIM pilots do, which is they turn immediately after takeoff, because they program the FMS and they put their airplane into FMS mode without reading the chart and seeing what it said. And I pointed it out on frequency, and I private message with him and explained to him what had gone wrong, and reassured him that we do see it a lot. Doesn't make it right, and we would like to see people do it properly. But rather than yell at people, I would rather tell people what they've done wrong and how more importantly, how can you fix it and prevent it next time. And he was very adult and professional about it. He said, thank you, appreciate the input, and he even admitted as much on his channel that he had made a mistake, and he tried to pass along to anyone viewing his channel what his mistake was and how to avoid making it yourself in the future. And that is really, that's all I want. That's all I want as a controller. If I see someone make a mistake, and especially that common one, I'm only telling you this not to be mean, not to be rude or cruel, but so that when you come back in the future, we can do this correctly. Because on most days it's quiet in Toronto, it's not a problem. But if you get a day where there is an event going on and there's lots of people in the airspace all over the place, you make a turn that you're not supposed to. SID says fly runway heading, and you make a turn immediately after departure. That could have put you immediately into conflict with plenty of other airplanes. So I do, it's frustrating, but when I do try to correct people on this, I do it only in the interest of, please come back, fly with us again. Let's make sure we do it properly, because when it is busy, when we're having an event, and I hope you come back for the events, we'd like everything to kind of try to function like clockwork anyways, the way it's supposed to. And I'll be the first to admit that I've made mistakes both on my streams and in real life, and you try to fix them whenever you can. And you try to learn from your mistakes as much as you can, too. Okay, so, we're approaching top of drop, so I'm going to quickly brief the FO here, and actually what I can do as well is open up the briefing button and make sure that we do get approach briefing. There we go. Set this all up. I'm going to assume it's contaminated. You know what I didn't set up as well yet is the speeds. What is the configuration here anyways? The runway length. It's a fairly long runway cone, I believe. It's 8,900 feet. We'll do it as flap. See, I don't want to do it as flap 35 just because the descent's going to be pretty steep as well. So let's do it as flap 35 because we can come in at a slower speed that way. On landing, APU, no, SDX, no. And we are going to a gate, I believe. Kelowna is gated with jet bridges. Stand is like a hard stand with just air stairs and no jet bridge, and gate means that there's a bridge. And then you can click the play brief button, but you know what, I might as well because I have not.
You ready for the approach brief?
Okay.
Okay, we'll be arriving by the ATC assigned star. As for the approach, we can expect an RNAV approach. The landing runway condition is contaminated. Anti-ice is not required. We will use flap 35 for landing. The bleeds will be on, and for the MDA, it's 3040 feet. After landing, please leave the APU off, and turn the transponder off since this airport does not use AZDX. And lastly, it looks like we'll be assigned a gate. The taxi route will be as assigned by ATC. Do you have any questions?
No questions.
Alright, approach brief complete.
And there we go. So they briefed themselves. My virtual captain and virtual first officer briefed themselves. I kind of briefed you already as we were going through the plate. But if I don't do it, if something is wrong, and when we're going through the checklist, the FO will challenge you on it in FS2Crew. If you say you've done, when he gets to approach briefing and you say complete when you didn't ask him to do the approach briefing, or you didn't do that automated approach briefing, he'll say, "Are you sure?" Which is good. Like, that's the way it should be. They should be challenging you. All right. Anyway, so. The one thing I realized we didn't put in was landing numbers, so let's just have a quick look here for our landing. Overhead Kelowna 60.7, so we'll say 61,000 pound numbers, which will be, for the flat 35 landing, it's a VREF of 119, still pretty heavy airplane here. V go around of 115, and then V fry and climb would be 29 and 52. Turn off the transponder by mistake. So 29 becomes 30 and 52. Leave that disappear on the transponder back now. I didn't mean to turn it off. It was a mistake. Just wait for that highlight to go away. There we go. There it is. Okay. And we're coming up to our top drop here as we approach Rob T, which is great. So I'm going to set 13,000 initially, which was one of the first crossing restrictions. I think it was the restriction at Rob T. I'm going to look at the plate in a second anyways, but we'll say 13,000 feet. Alt cell, arm the VNAV. And I could actually ask the FO to do this. Why don't I do that just to show you what it looks like here. I have my command sheets. Set altitude 13,000 alt cell. Slowly wind it down, but he won't say anything until he's actually finished. Get it to where it should be. Almost there. It takes a long time to speed sometimes. Yeah, I know we're going to start down any second. I'm going to power back a little bit because it's going to pitch over.
Altitude 13,000. Set alt cell.
Select VNAV.
VNAV set.
Select alt cell.
Alt cell.
There we when he pushed it, it deactivated again, so I had to get it deactivated again. And one thing I didn't do is I didn't make sure we were set to 3,000. No, sorry, it's only 1,400 here, so right about there. Here we go. Now we got to start focusing in again, because once we start descending, we got to manage the power very carefully here. Now we're going to be here at top drop. This is going to be a fun little approach. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to doing the RNAV, even though it's VMC. Kind of looking forward to doing the RNAV. Could have done the straight into the ILS a little faster, but this is going to be a fun little approach to do. Top descent alert on the FMS. Any second now we're going to hit that top and descent marker, and down we'll go. So just to refresh from the star Herbal. Was at or above 11. LDL is at or above 11,000. So we'll go ahead and do it this way. Set 11,000 alt cell. Set 1,000. Actually, I should say set altitude 1,000.
Check that one more time, please, Captain. 2992.
Set altitude 11,000. Cancel last command.
Check.
Set altitude 1,000. There he goes. Now he got it right. That cancel last command, guys, is crucial for FS2Crew, especially on the dash, because he can do so much. Be ready to get him to undo what he did if it's wrong. Need a little more trim here.
Altitude 1,000. Set.
Thank you. Alright, guys, have to use my checklist again. So, again, so I can continue talking. We're going to go ahead. Actually, let's do this. Select prop heat on. Set prop anti-ice to on.
Prop anti-ice set to on.
Useful commands, but you got to start using them a lot to get used to them. Let's do it. We have a descent checklist to do, so let's do it before it gets too bumpy here. Descent checklist to the line.
Altimeters.
2992 set, cross-checked.
2992 set and cross-checked. Fuel balance. Check. Pressurization. Set. Cabin PA. Standby, I'll be off 1.
Checked.
Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for arrival. Thank you. Cabin PA complete. Fasten belt switch. On. Approach and landing brief.
Complete.
Complete. Descent checklist completed to the line.
Alright, just a little shift in my chair here, get comfortable again. Start to see some ground contact. So for those of you that have never been to Kelowna, Kelowna's in a long, narrow valley in the Rocky Mountains with a long, narrow lake on the one side of it. So we have to basically descend, and then our approach is kind of along the valley, which is not necessarily totally aligned with the runway, which is going to make it a little bit more interesting as we go down. Now, 2975.
Looks like we're picking up some ice.
First. 2975 set, cross-checked.
2975 set and cross-checked.
Why don't you turn it on, buddy? Set airframe mode to fast.
Airframe mode set to fast.
The key with this guy is knowing the trigger words, though. And if you don't know the trigger words, like I've got a sheet written down that I typed out all the different trigger words separately from the checklists. Oh, I forgot to set the increase ref on, too. Hold on, let's tell him to do it. Set reference speed to increase.
Ref speed switch set to increase.
Now when we get to no rip, it should be max 210 knots, so we're going to have to slow down before we get to no rip. And at or above 10,000, so we just passed LDL, so we're going to go down to 10,000. I'm going to do some of the work myself. I can do some of the work myself, but it is nice to have an FO, especially when it's busy. You can tell him to do things that you need to do. Now, for some reason, this is not sequencing, so I don't know why. Let's do this, actually. You know why? Because we never cross-filled the adjusted flight plan. What we can do from... Try that again. Now he's got it. He's got it. Now it's sequenced. Alright, we're going to start reducing speed across no rip here at 2010. Somewhere down there, there is a mountain valley we're going to land in. Wings are looking okay. They're looking pretty clean right now. The lights are on. They just don't seem very bright at some point because it's daytime. Yeah, I guess they're coming a little bit. It's supposed to be 210 knots here, so we get a little bit late to Did we already pass no rip? I think we did already pass no rip. Oh, it's okay. Oh, there we are. Airport should be down there to the left. There's the airport right there. Perfect. You can see it there, but we're going to be doing the RNAV approach. It's just going to arc us out around, and then we're going to come up the valley and land there. But there is the Kelowna Airport right there. You can see there's quite a little bit of mountainous terrain on both sides of it, so it makes it for an interesting approach. Some decently high minimums. Not terrible, but high enough to make it a challenge anyways. And we should probably be getting ready to do the approach checklist, so let me just make sure I have the